who during the old trade days dwelt here in the town.
There used to be a sizable Chinese population in Kalimpong also during the 40s and the 50s. See, most of the Chinese community living in Kalimpong were shoemakers. And especially there is Tibetan boots. With the long boots, they went up to the knees. These were very popular among the Tibetans in Lhasa. So, in fact, there is one very popular shoe known as the Enson Shoe Company. That shoe was very popular in Lhasa during the trade time. And people, all the Khambas and the noblemen in Lhasa, they would love to have a pair of this shoes, specially made by Enson Company in Kalimpong.
We used to see mule loads of candles, shoes which were made here, the Tibetan shoes which were made here. In fact, once I recollect these shoes, in every house in Kalimpong, someone was making the top portion, someone was making the sole, someone was making the laces. So each and every house around Kalimpong was busy making. During those days, 1 lakh of pairs of shoes was, that it was quite a busy town. We can see that at the present moment, because of no trade and because of the political fragile situation, the trade has gone, and I think so has this location. With no impact through the government, central government or through the state government, being a very secluded region, I think no development takes place. Nothing is practically happening at this moment.
Now we reach the center of the township and come across another old citizen of Kalimpong, Mrs. Tashi Pempa Hishe.
All the Tibetan utensils, these are our tea charna, Tibetan Sikkimese. These are all the weapons from different parts of the hills. Lepcha, Gorkha kukuris, this Tibetan swords, and this is one of the largest kukuris, I suppose. Those days it was a great economic upliftment for our locals, because all the villagers, the locals, mostly women, they used to work in those godowns, cleaning wool, packing, and things that way. They were kept occupied throughout the year. So that way it was quite a way of small income for them, especially for ladies, the women folk. Then of course there were traders. They used to bring things from Calcutta, all this cotton garments, even woolen things, ready-made garments, things like that for export to Tibet, and food stuff. And those were packed over here. So that was also a great source of income for the local mistris, our local chaps, to make boxes, packing, things like that. And again, there were hundreds and hundreds of mules and horses from Tibet over here in Kalimpong during that short period of, say, from late October, beginning of November till March. So those horses were fed over here with straw, and that's also locally grown, and all kinds of grasses and all that also local people used to sell. And those blacksmiths for horses' shoe, horseshoe, hundreds of them, they had to be shoed properly. So that way local people were very nicely occupied. Friends from Tibet, they used to bring photographs of His Holiness when he was a young boy. Then when he came to India as a guest of Government of India, before the Chinese conflict.
We visit the wholesale market of 10th Mile to understand the recent trading activities here. And acquaintance with some old businessmen of this town gives us some additional information about their old-time trade with the Tibetans.
यहाँ जो खच्चर बहुत आता था, घोड़ा खच्चर। अच्छा, घोड़ा खच्चर आता था, वो लोग ऊन लेकर के आते थे, बेड़ा ऊन। बहुत ज़्यादा लेकर के आते थे। और उसके बाद यहाँ से माल ले जाते थे वो लोग। खच्चर के ऊपर एक साइड में दो भारी 2 लोड करते थे, एक मन का। उसमें हर एक सामान जाता था, चीनी भी जाता था, तेल वगैरह भी जाता था, वो खाने पीने का सामान बहुत जाता था, और हर एक कपड़ा सब चीज़ जाती थी।
रोलेक्स, रोमर भी जाता था,
वेस्टर्न जाता था,
वेस्टर्न वॉच जाता था,
घड़ी बहुत जाता था, यहाँ से बहुत सप्लाई हो रहा था।
घड़ी जो है उस टाइम पर जो जाता था, उन लोगों को पीस का हिसाब नहीं आता था। वो डॉलर लेके आते थे, डॉलर का इतना रुपया हुआ, इतना केजी डॉलर हुआ, तो वो लोग बोलते थे कि हमको 40 केजी घड़ी दे दो। तो 40 केजी मतलब उस टाइम पर नहीं था, शेर, 40 शेर मतलब 1 मन का एक भारी बनता था, तो 40 शेर का घड़ी डाल देते थे, पीस हम लोग गिनती करते थे।
टिबेटियन समझते थे।
हाँ,
बहुत पूरा बोल सकते हैं,
समझते भी हैं, बोलते भी हैं। अभी
पूरा बोल सकते हैं, मेरे जैसे कोई जानता नहीं कालिम्पोंग में।
तिब्बतन गुड्स का कालिम्पोंग ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड में माल जाता है, अभी भी
है,
तिब्बत के टाइम में भी था और अभी तक
अभी भी जाता है।
Professor Mahendra P. Lama, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Sikkim, gives us his take on this Jelepla route.
Jelepla road is neglected because of 2 very fundamental factors. One, of course, is unwillingness on the part of government of West Bengal to reopen Jelepla road because of some political factors, because of some historical factors, right? So I don't find any willingness on the part of Bengal. That is one very key reason. The second reason is, since Bengal government is not interested, and since Sikkim government is very concerned about diversion of trade route to Jelepla, government of Sikkim again and again re-emphasized on opening the Nathula trade route. The real context of doing this trade route was, if you are able to open this trade route between India and China through Nathula, then we thought that in the course of next 10 years, we could also reopen Jelepla. And if Jelepla is reopened in a very, very, very what you call scientific manner, and I always feel that entire North Bengal would gain. And entire North Bengal could be transformed into economically a very robust region.
We find Central Tibetan School in Kalimpong, Topkhana. It was once a reputed wool go-down. Kesan Bhotia, the principal of the school, helps us to take a tour.
This is called white wool go down, and the wool from Tibet and Bhutan used to be brought here by traders, Tibetan traders, and then it was sorted out and washed and carded, then sent down a chute from here into a baling machine down there, very big baling machines, made into big bales and shipped across to, I understand, Canada and America. Earlier it was one big hall, and there's another hall on the top and bottom also. So what we did was, we made these classroom partitions, as advised by the engineers, because it's a very old building. I was very young, probably about 4 or 5 years old, when the Chinese came to my, parents' ancestral town called Sakya. It's towards southern Tibet. And all I remember is that the Chinese initially came in the form of soldiers. Till then there were no Chinese men in the town I was living in with my parents. All I remember is that the Chinese looked very different from us in physical terms. They are very different, and the language was very different. But out of childish curiosity, I remember going to see the Chinese military vehicle. They had come in a military vehicle, And I was amazed how a house is moving on the road, because before that there was no vehicles in the town. I'd never seen. There was fear everywhere, somebody getting arrested, some properties being confiscated. And then I realized that every evening my mother and my brothers and sisters, they would be huddled together and talk about different families who have already escaped. We travel mostly by night, as I told you, so that they cannot detect us. Daytime we have to hide in the river valleys and gorges, and just no fire, just eat your champa, and no, because if they smoke, you might be caught. We found Kalimpong very hot, very, very hot, and we were still in the Tibetan traditional dresses, you see, and we were only relieved to be in Gum, which is, much suitable to us.
Darjeeling, widely regarded as the queen of the hill stations of India. The history of its foundation and development dates back to the 19th century. When the British government decided to set up a sanatorium, Darjeeling was also widely preferred by the Tibetans. Due to long commercial and religious communication with this land, Darjeeling became an obvious choice for the Tibetans to resettle after the Chinese invasion. Following the Dalai Lama, Tibetans in large numbers fled through different passes and sought refuge in Darjeeling, escaping via Jelepla and Nathula. In 1959, a 10-member committee was formed to set up a rehabilitation center in Darjeeling. A popular newspaper named Tibetan Freedom was also published by the center. News about their struggle inside Tibet, information of Tibetan refugees across India, and a short address by His Holiness the Dalai Lama were the prime attractions of the daily. It was often used as a guidebook by the newcomers. Our travel in Darjeeling finds a new dimension as we meet Dicky Dolkar.
Yeah, their day-to-day life is like they have these small shops. They earn from here. So some of them are like Tibetans.
We reach the residence of Nawang Dadakla with her, an elderly Tibetan refugee. Mr. Dadakla once fought for Tibetan freedom as he represented the Kham warriors of Tibet.
His name is Nawang Dadakla and he's 80 years old. And he's saying he's been through this Jelepla twice, once in 1950 and once in 1951. And then in the year 1959, he came through Nathula when he finally escaped from Tibet. So he's saying from Tibet, when they have to come to Jelepla, first they have to go to Tomo. There's some sort of transport till there. And from there they have to come on the mule, the horses. The road is not very easy also. It's quite difficult, but that's the only way to go through India at that time. He came here to change the money, the Tibetan money. The currency, they have to get it from that time the Chinese was already there in Lhasa. So he want to exchange the money. The Tibetan coin, the silver coin also. He's saying in 1956 the actual war started because they started getting tighter, and that time he, along with his family members, some brothers and some friends, nearly about 8 of them, they were lodged in the monastery, in Nathang, because they thought it'll be the safer place, and from there later on the Chinese, they started throwing the bombs from the planes, then they had to flee from the monastery. For 26 days, they put up a real fight. The Chinese leader at that time, they told soldiers, nearly 8,000 of Chinese army, soldiers were killed. So he's saying he's lucky. He was here to give you the story about you, but if he dies, there's no one to tell the story because most of his friends, they already left this earth, So he's saying it's a privilege. 34 years since they bought the house.
In between our journey along the mythical trade route, there are myriad stories. We, therefore, return to the old route with an aim to continue our voyage to the path of oblivion. We reach Tamsangguri Fort, the fort of the last Lepcha king. Myth and mystery around the place gives us a feeling of a living history. Lepchas, the original inhabitants of this land, have a long history of tolerance and struggle. The race has witnessed invasions and exploitations